computer.
So the alarm back to the video.
Here we go.
Ready?
Thank you, Janine.
All right. Hi, guys. Thank you all for coming this evening. Tonight's offerings are the beginning of a 4-part series on creating effective rituals. As pagans, almost everything we do is ritualistic in one way or another. And I personally am a ritualist. I create lots and lots of rituals. It's something that I think I'm pretty good at, and I really enjoy it. And even if y'all don't like it, I've voiced it on you, whether you like it or not. But I thought it would be very apropos to really look at rituals, what they are. In this first class, we're going to kind of look at what rituals, what is a ritual, what does it mean? Look at sort of the basics of what a ritual contains, and different kinds of rituals, and then we're gonna, at the end, we're gonna do a lock and load. So keep in your mind, think about something we can all do as like a group, small ritual here and now, and I'll be asking everybody here in the room to participate in that ritual, and of course, everybody out there in Zoom land will be observing, and we'll consider you in our circle in that position that you guys are in on the other side of the room here. You'll continue our circle here. The other 3 classes are going to be, the second one is creating personal rituals. The third one is working with small and large groups, because there's a big difference between all those things. And then also doing the 4th class is on doing virtual rituals. So y'all out there in Zoom land will have to give us some input on how you feel rituals have affect you when you're in Zoom land. It is a different, it's very different for sure. And the idea is that how can we create more effective rituals in all of those kind of circumstances, right? So first, I'm actually going to ritualistically start my talk with this altar that I got going on here. So I'm going to just light the candle. I'm going to light my offering incense here, sweetgrass. Then my final thing is I'm going to ask for some assistance here from somebody to smudge. Who would like to do that for me? Everybody's good with sage? We'll try not to make it too crazy.
I'm good.
Who's smudging for me, Diane? Yeah. So let's go backwards as we move any ritual and everybody little, judge of sage. Okay. So I'm sure as you all can see, this is like many of the rituals that we've all attended, right? You go, beginning somehow you get smudged, right? The idea being that, not that you're dirty, but that you're releasing the things that can hold you back from really fully being present and participating in the ritual. So it's to help you unload your crap so you can be fully present. So while she's smudging all of us, I want to talk a little bit about what a ritual actually is. So I did a little research. There is a, sorry, one moment, please. So I've been doing ritual for a long time, nearly 30 years now. But whenever even though I've been doing it for a long time and I can create a ritual with my eyes closed and my hands tied behind my back, I really felt like, you should refresh yourself. So I did a little research and kind of looking both at what pagan academics and general witchy folk that we all respected out there, and also kind of what the non-academic folks were saying about what is a ritual, specifically pagan rituals. And I wasn't like talking about church rituals. So I think for me, the most poignant thing I read is not necessarily a definition, but Selena Fox, we all know who she is, right? The Circle Sanctuary up in Wisconsin. This is what she had to write about rituals. Through rituals, pagans attune themselves to the rhythms of nature, create community, celebrate life passages, and make magic. Through rituals, pagans deepen their relationship with the divine in one or more sacred forms, and through rituals, pagan culture flourishes and evolves. And that very last segment really did resonate with me, as I felt like most of the time that we come together, there's a ritual involved, even if it's like a meditation at the end of a class, or like we're going to do tonight, a little lock and load, right? So since ritual is magic, is making magic, right? It's very directed forms of making magic. So what is magic? What does that mean? Right, so this is a rabbit hole you start to fall into when you start investigating what is a ritual. I thought it was like a simple question, right? What is a ritual? Oh no. But one of our own, Dion Fortune, also had some interesting things to say about magic. So what is magic? The art of changing consciousness at will. So rituals, depending on what you're going for, what the purpose is, are ways for us to change our attitudes in a safe place, so that when we walk out of it, we can continue that evolution of change. It gives us a place to say, okay, stop here. I'm going to rethink this thing. Or I'm going to do this particular thing, make a decision about how you're going to proceed. And then you can go out into the mundane world and maybe enact it, having that opportunity in that ritual space, that safe place to maybe put down burdens that may stop you from doing whatever it is you want to do. Because even when we do seasonal rituals, there's usually some part of it which talks to some kind of evolution of our personhood, right? Like you have in Yule, it's the beginning, right? And then the spring, you get the green things coming up, and there's new and bunnies and prettiness. The summertime, it's all sex and all that kind of good stuff. And then the fall, we're having a lot of meat and stuff like that. So, but there's the harvest. So what does that mean for us in terms of our personal lives? Taking that cyclical concept and applying it to our everyday lives, so we can really change sometimes where we're at by doing ritual. So what kind of rituals are there? I just talked about seasonal rituals, and our spring equinoxes and our fall equinox, and all the cross quarters, of course, as well. And then there's life passages, things like birth, menarche, marriage, sagehood, cronehood, death, and there's lots of other ones in between, but those are some pretty common ones. Personal rituals for things like personal power. This is like to help us change ourselves in very, very direct ways without a group present. So you're working directly with yourself. That's your direct line to the gods or whatever you're doing. But also for healing. There's rituals for requesting things from the spirits, from the gods. Sometimes, actually, the lock and load that we'll do probably at the end of this evening will probably be to ask for something. Perhaps for our community. I don't know what y'all are going to come up with. I'm not going to have a say in it, but you guys got to come up with something. There's also rituals for honoring the gods, for honoring our ancestors, for honoring the elemental spirits and the other spirits that inhabit the earth. Rituals for gratitude. Rituals for community healing or community building. We've done those before, of course, in the time we've been together. Also things like community connectedness. Like this, I think, especially rituals bring us together and make us feel closer to each other in a kind of unspoken way. have that energetic from each other, right? And that helps us when we go on to, it's like energy that our friends and our co-ritualists are, you know, giving to us. We're like feeding each other that. Also just actually meeting with or enhancing a relationship with the God. So you can use ritual to actually meet, say you're new to the craft, or maybe you're old to the craft and you suddenly bumped into some God that you never thought that you would be interacting with, and you're like, oh,
Hi.
hi. Let's do this ritual, and that you know, that ritual helps you, because before you do that ritual, you're going to do all that research, right? So that ritual becomes more powerful because you really like thought about it. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. So these celebrations, the Sabbaths, all these different things, but especially things like the Sabbaths, the things that we consistently do cyclically throughout the year, they really imbue us with a feeling that there is structure and purpose to our lives. So we feel like, you know, there's something to look forward to, right? And we're reaching towards a new goal with each passing one of our cyclical seasonal celebrations, right? Because we're so aware of it, I think, at least I do, maybe you all don't, but I do certainly. My year goes, oh, Yule, fun, party, but it's the new Sun King, you know, is coming. It's the new time. But it's cold at the same time. So you have to like, it's interesting to balance those two things together and see, and how do I use that as in myself to move forward personally, as well as connect with the rest of the community that sees that as that time of, I don't know, Yule is a celebration to me because there's lots of mead and dancing, and you know, there's like the, you know, the what's the longest night and the shortest day. So, but to me, Yule is a giant party.
Yeah.
Right. And if you lived up north, it would be a time when you probably were like not with your peers or your friends or the people in your village because it was too cold. It's like one of the few times you might get together with those people to actually commune with anything, not just the gods, but you know, like the first time you saw people outside of your family for months. So anyway, so these are different rituals help you to position yourself to make changes, celebrate life, and connect with your community in many ways. So the next question is, now that we have all these concepts, and I mean, that was just like a smattering of possibilities. There's so many. Think of a reason to have a ritual. There you go. There is, and we're all different. So I practice a fairy sort of faith, which I have made up myself for the most part. So, but maybe some other folks practice a little bit more structured path. Maybe they're Gardnerian or Alexandrian or you know, something like that, and they have a little bit more specific ways that they do things. And so, as you can see, there's all different things that can happen in between there in terms of ritual. Just cross the circle the wrong way if you're in a Gardnerian.
Oh.
Looks could kill. So, so now that we know what kinds of rituals, sort of, when, where, how, and with whom can you do these rituals? So we said seasonal, but there's other kinds of timing too, right? There's times of the day, days of the week, months of the year, years themselves. So this year is a 6 year. What does 6 mean? You know what 6 means, which I can't think of off the top of my head. Sorry.
222.
I know, so it's a 6
Adds
year.
up to 6.
So
Fiber magic, that's insight.
So this is a year maybe of insight. So if you're doing a ritual based on this concept of what the year means, you might do a ritual based on getting more insight, right? So what was that about? It was about the timing of that, right? Also, you can go with things like moon phases, sun phases. All the planets have their own phases and their own times, especially if you practice astrology in any kind of fashion. You know that Venus only comes around once every 19 years, so the same spot it was at the beginning. Saturn is like 27.5 years, I think. that it comes around. So when you have your Saturn return, so timing, a lot of people do rituals during their Saturn return because their life is in chaos.
Pluto return.
Even if it's good chaos, it's still chaos, right? And that can last for more than a year. So everything gets back on track again. So I'm just saying that there's more timing. There's also personal timing, things like your birthday, anniversaries, other kinds of things that are more personal dates and times. Maybe something just about astrology or how old you are. So there's also, so where can you do rituals? Well, we like doing them outside for the most part, don't we? That's our preferred. As pagans, we generally like to do them outside, but you can do them inside, you can do them outside, you can do them both, right? Sometimes we start inside and wander outside, right? They can be private, they can be public, they can be solitary or alone, or they can be in a group of any size, from 2 people to, I don't know, how many people have been here who were ever at the witch's ball? The year we had 700 people show up, and we had 400 people standing in ritual circle. And of course, for a pagan gathering, when they do their rituals, there's like hundreds and hundreds of people. Like, clearly you can't have a lot of participation because there's just way too many people in that ritual circle.
Do you remember the time we had this John Barleycorn 5 times to get everybody into circle?
I do.
But yeah, you do.
You're like, really?
Again? Okay, there's some people coming out the door.
That's when you put on TV, press play.
No, it was the choir's singing.
When was that?
That
So,
was before your time.
so having said that, research and planning are
Yes.
very, very, very important
Yes.
things that you need to do prior to having a very complicated public group ritual of any sort. And the more planning you do, well, sometimes it all falls apart. But the vast majority of the time, the more, if you're ready for it, if you're planned, if it's all together, you can actually participate in the ritual as the leader. Sometimes if the ritual is not as organized, first, you don't have as much like time to appreciate yourself, but also the people that are participating in it, maybe not on a conscious level, but they can tell more together rituals to less together rituals. Not that a lot. I'm sure that the lock and load at the end of this evening is not going to be together, but
Murphy
that's
loves plans.
okay. Exactly. And then as far as who you can do ritual with, whoever you fucking like.
Anybody, everybody.
Whoever is willing. I guess that would be my, unless they're young enough not to be able to have a choice. As long as they're willing, like you should never try to do ritual with people that are really not into it. Like, obviously if you're going to a pagan ritual, but if you're like doing an impromptu something and maybe not everybody's into it, because maybe they're not witches, they don't know. Maybe it's a good time to choose another path. Maybe this is not the moment for
There may come times though when you are doing a ritual that you know it's ritual, but they may not necessarily doing it. AKA lighting the candles on a birthday cake or things of that nature.
I know what you're saying, but that is a cultural ritual that every religion does. And they must place something in it because everybody says make a wish. Most little children believe make a wish, right? So if you believe and you're the one that's blowing the candle out, then that's all that counts. If you don't believe, it doesn't make any difference if you tell them it's a ritual. They're just gonna poo-poo you anyway. That crap. In their head, I'm not saying for us, but I mean, in their head, they probably think that's crap. Yeah, I mean, they're missing out, but that's okay. So some of the functions of ritual. So ritual behaviors like that are established kind of like by traditional rules. Certainly some of my practices are very Wiccan influenced and flavored because most of the groups that I've been a part of have, if nothing else, stolen the vast majority of the way they do things from mostly Celtic Wicca. I'm not Wiccan because I don't like a lot of rules and yeah. But you know, borrow, steal, whatever, from whatever tradition appeals to me. But having said that, I do try really hard to be respectful from anywhere I borrow. And I try really hard not to insulting or change things in a way that is okay for me, but doesn't really reflect the original sentiment of whatever god or goddess or spirit. Like, don't fuck with the fairies. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you have a water fairy, don't be playing fire with the water fairy. You know what I mean? That's a simple way to look at it. But, you know, maybe if you're dealing with Zeus, like, you can't say let's play nice because he doesn't know how to do that. Right? Though I don't know too many people that do Zeus. Does anybody know anybody that hangs out with Zeus?
I've known a couple.
I have one
Zeus.
person that I know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Hang out with a philandery, child abuser all you want.
But like traditions from all over the world, like every culture, every religion have these kinds of ritual behaviors, right? Like, and because I think pagans are very, I mean, honestly, I feel like everything we do is about ritual. Whereas if you go to a church or a synagogue, or I have to admit, I've never been to what do they call it?
Mosque.
Not mosque, thank you, a mosque. I have been to a temple, like a Hindu temple once, where there was something going on.
Yeah.
And then Mendir, sorry, Hindu is a Mendir, and then I have been to a Buddhist temple, which was very interesting and cool. That's ritual. Buddhists have ritual now. Everything is ritual for Buddhists. I definitely, when I have studied Buddhism, I thought, oh, we do that. I like that, we do that. But it's something that I think it's human nature personally. I mean, that's just my observation as a social scientist. I'm a sociologist, so and also hundreds of rituals that I've done, public to personal ones over the years.
Structure out of chaos.
Yeah. I mean, it's a way for you to do that. That is what ritual is for, I think, is to take that chaos and somehow figure out how to make it less scary. Right? Make it more like something that you can work with, shall we say. Lots of notes here. So if you're interested in any of the research, there are links on the handout that did you put online?
I will. There'll be a
There'll be a
handout on our
handout
Facebook
online,
page.
And there's several links to some of the research that I did for this ritual, and they're all very interesting. If you're especially in psychology, there's some really interesting stuff there that specifically talks about pagan ritual and psychology and how they interact. Or, I mean, it's like when you read it, you're like, oh, that makes total sense. Of course, rituals are psychology, right? All religious stuff is about psychology. We're all psyching ourselves into being better people, doing the things that we, want to do in a good way, like our moral and ethical sort of compass. Yes, ma'am.
I was looking up some information, and I saw a guy speaking about, he's an atheist, so he doesn't do religious rituals, but he gets the same feeling, same psychological feeling from a football game. Because anytime large numbers of people get together with the same purpose, there's an energy that affects everyone in a positive way. So that is the psychology of it. It's not a religious experience, it's a human experience.
Exactly. Precisely. I totally agree with you. And I think that we lose sight of that. I think not that there's anything wrong with understanding and being in awe of the mysteries of the universe, because clearly there's tons of stuff that we don't understand, right? To me, what we don't understand is magic. What we do understand is science. And hopefully we'll someday learn about, like, be able to move that magic over to science, because we'll understand it more clearly. But it's all about psychology. It's all about how we can tap into our own best self, right? And sometimes with the Buddhists call it the monkey mind, chit chat in your head telling you you're stupid or you can't do that or blah, 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 blah. This is your opportunity to turn off monkey mind, monkey chatter off, and actually give yourself the opportunity to do the hard things. It's hard to be good. It's hard to not be selfish. It's hard to do the right thing sometimes, especially if it's going to interrupt our day or make us lose money or, and this is an opportunity, the psychology behind the rituals. And I honestly, I totally agree with you regarding atheists. They may not believe in God, but they're just as much ritualists as the rest of us are, because that's a human.
Yep.
It's human nature. All right, so all of the philosophical stuff aside, let's get down to the practicalities of ritual. What are the elements of a ritual? I'm going to name a few things, you'll recognize them, and then you might tell me that I missed something or something, there's too much in there, and you're welcome to add your bits. But for me, and I'm going to do this in the order that I would do it before, and I would do this probably whether I was doing a small ritual or a very large one. And I might even want to do it this way if I'm doing my own personal ritual, maybe a little bit altered. But so the first thing I would do is what we did when I started with a cleanse, right? We're gonna sage ourselves. And as I mentioned before, I think that's not because we're dirty, bad, or anything else like that. It's so that we can allow ourselves to let that stuff that's holding us back from our best selves and holding us back from participating fully in the ritual and getting out of it what will help us. It's an opportunity for us to allow that to go, okay, let's go on down, right? That's sage. And then we might cast the circle. So I have actually here with me my portable altar and my ritual tools, which y'all might probably see me bring this bag in somewhere and you're like, I've never seen me take anything out of it, because to me, when I do any kind of ritual or any kind of thing, I bring them with me because I want all the energy of what was going on in that space to be on my tools so that I can carry that wisdom with me wherever I go. So this is my traveling altar bag. I have incense, candles, sage, lighting equipment, bells, crystals. What else could you, feathers, there's all kinds of stuff in there. Your pen and paper, of course, because you might need to write down what you're talking about, right? And put it on your table. And then my tools are in a similar bag, a little less full. But I have the first thing, which I was taught to cast circle with, is an athame, my athame, right? Which I have made for me. The blade came from Lady Demeter's shop, but then a friend actually put the beautiful horn on it and the crystal. And we would use this to cast circle, right? We pointed and this is clockwise. Okay, so I'm going to be casting circle. Notice I'm not cutting anyone's heads off. It's not a really good point directly at, and it's right behind everybody, right? So it's right behind everybody in the group. So that's a good way to cast circle. But when I'm in rituals, sometimes, especially if I'm doing less Wiccan types rituals, I might use the people in the ritual to create the circle. So I'm sure y'all have been to several ones where we start in one spot, like on a patio, everybody gets saged, and then everybody proceeds out into where the ritual space is, and they actually walk into a circle. And for me, because we don't want to include that circle cast, the more Wiccan one, I use my people to cut my circle. Or any kind of stuff. That's another way, of course, to cast your circle. It's thank you for mentioning that. If you're already standing in a circle and you want to create one in the moment, and you want to actually connect energy between everybody in that stand, it's a great thing to hand to hand. I cast this circle. All right. Yeah, can you do that?
Yeah.
Look at her. Look at her go. There.
We know that. Done.
And the can I cast this. Now, y'all can't tell me that there was not energy right there.
Yeah.
So those are things that enhance your ritual experience, right? Then the next thing I'm gonna do when I get in my circle, especially I've got more than one person, we're gonna ground and center. So that we are ready to take off. But we're nice and firm, feet on the ground, so that our little string has a nice place to hold us down when we're up there during ritual out of our bodies. I don't, do you guys like where your body during ritual sometimes? So being grounded and centered helps keeps your ethereal body anchored to the here and now, right? Because we're about to get all goofy, right? In this ritual, we're gonna be able to relax and let ourselves go. And we're gonna we've gotten rid of all the crap that's making our lives miserable. We're in this space. We're like separate from everywhere else, right? We're in our sacred space. Well, I want to say to you that to me, everything is sacred. So I had to, I think one of the things I got out of my research now with doing this was, this is something that's been a stumbling block for me, is like people saying it's sacred space and it's not the same as the mundane world. And it's like, if everything is not sacred, how are we supposed to function as people? Everything has to be sacred so that we can respect it, because clearly we don't think things are sacred as human beings. I don't mean that individual people, but as a human race, we kind of suck, right? So if you think about it, when we thought things were sacred, we were more likely to take care of them, right? So Native Americans, good as example as any that I can come up with, the way they teach their children to honor the earth and respect it, and to have interrelationships with the plants and with the animals. So if you have relationships with these things, then it's really hard to go out there and just chop a tree down.
You don't
If it's
chop
your
trees
butt.
down, that's murder.
Thank you. So,
You're sorry.
so anyway, so that's my thoughts on that. That's my personal view. I'm not saying that anybody else carries it, but it's gotten me pretty far. So the next thing we would do is, and this is something I think that everybody loves doing, is calling the direction. We're calling the elements, right? Calling more southeast and west, all the elements that are associated with them. And we won't tell which ones are which, because some of us may not agree with which direction is which. My own teacher and I did not agree on east and west. She said that east was water and west was air. And I was like, but the hurricanes come from the east. That's a lot of air. And there's swamps in the west. They're kind of wet all the time. I get it, the ocean's in the east too, so I can see it. But you gotta stop somewhere, right? All right, so after you called the directions, you're gonna call in your ancestors, right? Because they're the spirits of your physical body that went before, so why not have them come and empower your ritual and maybe protect you? A lot of people ask for their ancestors to protect them during the rite, so no bad things can come into the ritual circle and fuck them. And then we're gonna call in deity, and hopefully the deities, or maybe it's just the Lord and Lady, maybe it's the mother and father, maybe it's Yamaya. I mean, whoever you're gonna call into the ritual space, right? And then once we have deity in our space, this is the time to state the purpose of the ritual. So I like to state the ritual purpose at the very beginning so that people don't walk into the ritual space not having a clue what they're getting themselves into. Now, I mean, sometimes I have built rituals where I wanted to surprise the participants in a particular fashion, but I still think if you know what's coming, sometimes you can be more present because you're expecting it. So you're already like, okay, I'm already halfway there now. You don't get surprised and go, and like kind of, if you will, have an energetic, foot hard on the brake. You know what I mean? What the heck is that? So the other reason, of course, to state the purpose is because, well, got to tell everybody what's going on, not just the people in the ritual itself, but the universe, the gods, the goddesses, the elementals. So I've personally
called all these things in.
Yeah.
Tell them why.
Yeah, exactly.
You may be
All right,
wondering why
I'm
I'm
here
gathering you today.
I'm here, now what?
Even if it's just
Ritual
a
US.
visit, at least let them know.
Obviously, like someone is not available this time.
All right, so once you've stated your ritual course, now it's time to do magic, right? Now it's time to raise energy, right? Raise the cone of power. This is the time where all the really hard work of all that other stuff comes to fruition. You know what you're gonna do? Everybody in the ritual lends their power to whatever purpose you're gonna be doing. And it's really wonderful and you're all high and it's so great. And so energy is really high, right? Okay, we're up there. So we've asked for whatever or done whatever the purpose is, and now it is time to say thank you. Thank you to the beings that joined us. Thank you to whatever God or goddess or spirit or entity we called to help us with our purpose. And so making offerings. And a lot of time this ends up being like our cakes and ale, and we take a portion before anybody gets it, and it gets put on the main altar maybe, and then later it gets put onto, like it would be at the fairy altar. We would always give an offering to the spirits in that place. So, but then we would use the rest of that libation for ourselves. So that's the next step. So you give an offering to the gods, and then you have cakes and ale for libations. And that's where you can also, a lot of times you can throw some stuff in the fire as an offering, or put your food on the floor a little bit as an offering to Mother Earth. And then once that is all done, you would maybe release all the deities and the ancestors and the elements. So I do it the opposite way I call them in. So I'm going to release deity, I'm going to release my ancestors, and I'm going to release my elementals. I have seen people do it differently. It always irks me, but like ultimately it doesn't do any harm, I don't think. But I think the idea that the sacred circle is like beyond time and space when you go in. So when you go back out, it should be backwards, which is the other reason that we go either sunrise or doshal, is because we're trying to bring in or release, right?
So
So
you-
go backwards, you're releasing.
So you go like philo, first in, last out.
Yes, exactly. All right, so now there's all the spirits and ancestors and gods have gone, and we're all quivering with the energy of ritual, right? So now is the time to reground ourselves and to release any pent up energy. Keep what we need for ourselves, and let the rest of it go out to where it can do the most good, or at least to ground it. So if you guys have been in my rituals, which most I think everybody has, I say, put your hands on Mother Earth, release any energy that you no longer need, keep what you need for yourself, and then give it away to Father Sky. And then I also like to shaking out, because a lot of times you're a little high from the ritual high, right? Everybody know what ritual high is? We don't get really great ritual and the energy is high, and you're like buzzing along and
Yeah,
that's a good thing,
and
but
then the sun drain.
yeah. So reground, yes, exactly. Regrounding is the first thing you do. Then of course we open the circle. We say Mary meet, Mary part, Mary meet again, and we release or open the circle. And then I always encourage folks to go eat something not sugary.
But sugar is best.
It is, but it's not sugary.
Some
Unless you're eating like a
protein.
piece of fruit or something like that, that would be okay. But if you want to eat something that's not sugary or caffeine, you want to have something like a healthy snack, if you will.
So no spoonful of honey.
No. Not recommended. No.
I've heard carbs are a very good way to ground.
You what?
I've heard carbs are a very good way to ground.
Yeah.
Cheese and crackers.
Cheese and crackers.
Yeah.
Right away. Yeah. So you want things that are just gonna really like, right? So anybody else have any thoughts on ritual elements that they might do that I did not mention? Jen?
Sometimes divination.
Sometimes.
Well, that would be, I would consider that in the working. That's a part of the working.
Could be, yeah.
Because I agree with you, divination is absolutely something that happens, especially in seasonal rituals. Like Ash the Silent, every Yule would have the youngest person in the circle draw a rune to talk about what was coming for the year. So the Yule ritual would have been, divination would have been a part of that magical, but yeah.
You pretty much covered it all.
Yeah.
All right, so now you know what the elements of a ritual are. The next part is about mood. This is probably the most important part of the ritual, is getting that mood thing going right. So what can you use to set the mood?
Music.
Yes, it's the first thing on my list. Music.
Survey said, it's true.
I also have incense.
And
Just the
sense.
sense and like-
Clothing.
Yes.
Dang it, I was gonna say that, I was
Clothing,
gonna say
right? I
guard.
wore this specifically because I wanted you all to know that
Not
I.
necessarily skyclad is an option too.
That's another mood.
I was gonna say guard, but
Barb or no, as you will, depending on how legal it is, wherever you are.
But if you're skyclad, that's its own mood and its own type of ritual, because it feels different than a clad ritual.
Of course,
That is true.
yes, for sure.
Anne online says chimes, candles, or a singing bowl.
Yes, yes.
so, the decorations of the ritual space,
Of course, that's actually under props
props,
or visual effects.
yes.
Things like fire, altars, mood lighting, so like tiki torches.
Birch in a chariot.
Yeah.
Well, if we're gonna.
Also setting the mood, I want to say meditation, even though that is actually a part of, you know, the doing the
Grounding,
magic part, but the
beginning grounding.
meditation really,
It could be part of beginning grounding. The first bit of grounding that you do before the ritual,
yeah, it sets the mood,
yeah.
right? It's gonna set the mood for, so meditation, dancing and or walking around the circle, because sometimes walking is more appropriate depending on, you know, what you're trying to
Recreation
do.
of events, ritual playlist.
Yes. Yes, indeed, for sure.
Bard stories.
Yes.
The battles.
Yes.
Grandfather getting scared off.
The other thing I have here is engaging everybody. Like, not just having a ritual where you stand there and don't somehow participate. Having said that, the larger the ritual,
The harder
the
that
harder
is.
it is to get people to participate because it takes a long time.
People might be new and they're probably just going, what do I do?
Do something that they can all do simultaneously, not come up in
Yes.
just 3 minutes.
Or,
Because
or
if there's
like,
90 people there, that's a long time.
It is a
Like-
It's not just 3 minutes, it's 3 minutes plus them walking back and forth.
like
So-
what you
Well,
did
tax
earlier.
alert.
There's gonna be a big circle.
Like what you did earlier, getting everybody engaged would be casting the circle.
Yeah.
For sure, but also things like, when we do cakes and ale, of course, you don't have one person doing it, you have 4 people doing it, 1 for each quarter, and they all have minions to help them so that you've now engaged 12 people,
Like we did last.
right?
But you can also,
Or like how at Bell Table, we had a couple of plant guardians, and then all the quarter callers also helped pass out all the dirt to the people to bless the plant.
but you've also done ones where you have the items on the table and everybody who's in the ritual participating comes and gets their own specific ones that call to them in that particular case.
That, my next thing feeds right into that, and that is a magical focal point.
Mhm.
So like, the one thing I can think of is when we do the Yamaya ritual and I have everybody get a shell. So they're holding on to this shell, right, and they're imbuing all their energy and something to do. We're all at the same time. And the 7 pennies, of course, or no, sorry, it's 7.
7 things.
I do 3 times and 3 pennies when I go to the beach. I think some sorts of points I can't get them sometimes, but, or whatever, like, everybody does different kinds of things, shells, rocks, leaves, feathers, and all different kinds of stuff that we've done to create that thing that you're gonna focus your energy on, right? I would also argue that setting the mood includes ritual content. I think if the ritual content does not jive with what you're trying to do, like I mentioned earlier, like using Zeus for a purpose, it's not, not quite Zeus-like, like a soft fluffy bunny ritual for Zeus, like that wouldn't work, like the energy would kind of like be lost. Because you didn't match up the point of that, whatever ritual it is, and who you're bringing in to help you, what energies you're trying to bring in to enhance and make stronger that energy.
Well, it'd be like trying to do something super light and fluffy at Samhain. I think the time of year plays into it too.
Precisely. Well, that's about ritual content, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
like, if you do a fluffy bunny ritual at Samhain and you get you'll be coming, then it's nice.
Unless you're sacrificing that said bunny.
Oh, we don't do that.
Yes, but
We-
it's been pardoned, no more
Yeah.
sacrifice.
The bunny is forever pardoned and the bunny is happily living in the glades. Under Lady Florida's personal protection.
That's fake
Good.
news.
Because gators like bunnies. Yeah.
Yes, they do.
Thank
Yes,
you.
they
Yes, I
do. So I think the point that I'm making is like, do your research for whatever ritual you're gonna be doing, whether it's for yourself personally or for any, whatever group you're doing it for, because that makes all the difference in the world. I have been to rituals where I was just like, and a lot of other people like, so the energy, there wasn't like, everybody was, it was confused energy. It wasn't like an uplifting. I was just in a fantastic ritual, even if I didn't do whatever they were offering, but it was nice to get that energy. Yeah, with everybody else in the ritual.
There have been ones that go into it and it's just flat from the word go. Then there were ones that start off high and all of a sudden it turns into like, "Ooh, what happened to that? You know?
Yeah.
Usually they're too long.
Yes, it's dragon.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you're doing larger group rituals, you do, and we will, and I will touch on these things when we do all those rituals. I'll go into the specifics, but there's different kinds of things that you need to do for each of those things. So the final thing I want to do also for talk about regarding setting mood is engaging all the senses. We kind of talked about that, right? We talked about music and attire and
Colors.
colors. Yeah, that's one of the
That's
reasons I want to do that color magic class before, is because if you're doing rituals, it's all about symbolism, and colors are all about, everything is all about symbolism. You can make symbolism out of pretty much anything, but my thought is like, research it before you just slap whatever you want there. But really engage in all this. You're gonna have incense so you can smell, right? You'll have food for the libations, so you're gonna have your taste. Maybe you're gonna get some kind of object, so that'll be like a visceral thing that you can hold in your hand, right? So you've engaged everything. So you've got all these people in your palm of your hand, just they can't go anywhere else because you've got all their senses in your grasp, right? So ritual tools. Ritual tools. So ritual tools. So I am of the school that the most important ritual tool that you have is you. Heart, mind, body. What's that mean? Oh,
Which finger is the most powerful? I know.
I thought it was either ET or Wonder Twins.
All right, so anyway, so I think one of the main things that we use as pagans is our athame, right? Who does not have an athame?
Mine's pair of scissors, but it's still an
I believe
Yes. Point and you can cut with it.
I wouldn't let you come after me with it. Serious pair of scissors.
Shouldn't run with them.
Athame, a wand. I do not have my wand with me. It's on my fairy altar, but I have a beautiful
I do.
copper wand. Oh, there you go.
Wow.
Our friend Abelina here has her own.
Always
She
carry my
always
wand.
carries
Yeah.
So I wish for you all to be connected with strength.
Never other side, never the other side.
Don't give my musician any idea.
I'm gonna say also your altar, the actual altar
Yes.
itself is one of probably the most important ritual tools if you're doing that. Crystals, bells. I love my bell. I love this bell so much. It can take you into or out of that beautiful state. Right? Drums, drums are very. Drums. We already mentioned ritual wear, jewelry, like, so I have my Yamaya beads on and my Oya beads and my fairy star, which is a seven-pointed star. Everybody's confused by it. Because it's not 6 and it's not 5, right? People look at it and like, are you Jewish?
Extra.
Extra.
Shalom.
I would also argue that a ritual script is a tool. Absolutely. Because it keeps you focused, right? It keeps you moving in the direction, even if you lose focus on it in the moment, because you're either engaged or you get distracted or whatever. Your ritual script is definitely a tool that's very important. Now, another reason that I haven't found some of the more strict traditions appealing is because I have no memory, and they make you memorize stuff.
Even when I do a solo ritual, I have a script.
Yeah, or at least an outline, like what I'm doing, right?
I try, yeah, because you know what happens, everybody do is the ritual. You write that thing perfect, 9 days straight, you're going into guns blazing, and the moment of that first word comes in, I didn't miss, that's what I missed, as soon as the, that's it,
Blank.
yeah. I should have done that one, yeah.
So I'm sure I missed lots of different tools, but I just wanted to get the juices flowing for thought.
One of the tools, I think it's important if you're doing ritual for someone else, permission.
Thank you. That is a very, very good thing that you said. Diana Amethyst says, don't ever do ritual for anybody without their permission. Even if you think you're helping them.
Right.
They may not miss
Especially
it.
if you think you're helping them.
Yeah.
Now, I think there's a difference between wishing people well and maybe praying for them to have, for whatever, that you're not forcing something on
Right,
them.
that's a whole different thing.
But doing a ritual for someone, that's real specific.
Because
So you're right.
when you're doing a ritual, you're trying to change things.
Yes.
And not everybody, whether they need it or not, is ready.
That's true.
Well said, some people.
And it's not our place to tell them,
Right.
even if we know we don't.
And if they're supposed to change, it won't work so well if they're not the ones doing the changing.
Right.
Yes.
And if they're not
Change must
expecting
come.
it, you know, people get freaked out when things happen and they don't know why they're happening.
Well, not even that so much. I've come into a case where I've had to learn the hard way that they may even ask where they don't ask, right? I'm so this and that, you do some healing for them, and because they don't want to be healed, they want to live.
That's it, they
just
like, some people like to live in their misery.
Yeah, why even waste the magic for that then? you know?
For sure. All right, we've come to the time where we need to do our lock and load. So what are we doing ritual about this evening, and who's doing what? Who wants to lead this ritual? Or start? Who's leading? Not me.
So I'll eat.
Okay, Birch is gonna be leading us, okay, so what are we doing our ritual? And
Someone
what
tell,
participants do we need?
I don't.
Does anybody in Zoom land have any ideas about what kind of rituals we can do right now? A lock and load is where we make it up as we go along, though we do have some kind of focused purpose.
Well,
What's going on in the world?
Mercury is in retrograde. It's almost a full moon. So we're at a waxing moon. This would be the second full moon of summer, I believe, because Ostara was the first.
Do a ritual that calls for clear communication.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah. I was
That's a
gonna say,
very
should-
good one.
it Should be something about communication.
Yeah.
Appropriate, I think.
Because we, as a civilization, have forgotten how to communicate with each other.
Yes.
We have, this is so.
Or we communicate.
All we have is
Inappropriate
discord. We
wrong
don't have,
things.
right, we don't have good communication. We have discord. That's not.
Okay,
So you're
So-
gonna lead the ritual, but she's gonna be the storyteller.
yes.
Story
Yes,
of why
you
we're
should
doing
tell the
this.
story. So then we need some quarters,
I'll call the east.
okay?
All the West.
West,
I'll call the north.
north. And who's gonna be myself?
I suppose I should be selling.
You're already dressed in red, so you're already dressed for
Oh, is that why?
it. Okay.
Could we do clear communication with compassion?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes,
Very
I
good.
think definitely for the West, we should call for compassion.
Thank you.
The East will call for intelligence.
Don't wanna-
North
And
will call for
inspiration.
power and
I don't
strength.
wanna put too
Yep,
political
and
point on it.
South,
Inspiration.
inspiration.
South is the fiery passion to get it done.
There you go. All right.
North, what are you gonna be doing with,
Power and strength.
power and strength?
And
And
strength.
strength.
Okay. All right. And
Yes?
We can hear you, so you could participate.
Zoom folks?
Anne said, how about a Mercury retrograde do-over for things that need to be redone?
Something is worse already.
I was thinking that with the West, I was thinking abundance and cleansing, because
Did you say
there's,
do-over?
yeah.
You said
well,
do-over.
I say that
That's a
because-
great idea. We're gonna include do-over in the West.
That was Anne.
Awesome.
And then Mystic Storm Song says, there's a lunar eclipse Monday night.
yes.
Ooh, what does a lunar eclipse mean?
Mystic, can you come on and let us know what a lunar eclipse means?
What's the symbolism?
What is the symbolism? Do you know?
Transformation, I would imagine.
It's the in-between
Well-
space.
Yeah, it is.
As far as I know, with the full lunar eclipse, it's like transformation and new beginnings from what I remember.
So that energy will help us come out of the darkness
Yes.
to clear up the communication.
Yeah.
Yes.
I like it, I like it. Yeah, It's
Okay.
coming together quite nicely.
And
Alright.
There's an interesting thing about the waning, waning, is it waxing?
Well, it's wax time right now.
Think of it as a person who's either full or empty. Right now, she's hungry. It's waxing. Chewing and eating up, taking in all that positive energy and negative or anything anybody throws up to her. That's why she gets bigger. And then once she's full, she'll start waning. And that's when the energy drops off. It's always good to ask for assistance with things during a waning bit, because then you can really sacrifice, give your waxing, yes. So you can really give energy to her.
Where
Whereas
waiting, when you're
waiting-
asking to receive.
Yeah, to give stuff back. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Anne says that if she remembers correctly, the eclipse is in Scorpio.
Okay.
nice.
So that's about mystery.
Mystery, all right. Well, we're talking a lot about the moon,
Relation, it'll be
so I think we should call upon the moon goddess.
For sure. We should
Call upon Luna. Call upon Luna herself,
Selena.
Savannah,
Celine, yeah, Celine.
Celine, Luna.
Or what about God or male?
Shiva, but you got destruction.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
No,
Well-
say Cernunnos or and something that associated with growth of the forests,
yeah.
an abundance
Cernunnos?
god, something to bring forth more.
Well,
Someone's
Matt
got the
here
horns.
has the horns and the
Already
ear.
getting ready.
If the horns fit, wear 'em.
I love it. We haven't even told them, they're already getting them ready.
Somebody say Sanudas.
I'll break out the codpiece.
Kimberly
So
says
like,
Mahina, the Hawaiian moon goddess.
oh, Hina.
Okay.
Mahina, she says. Mahina.
That's why I've heard it called peanut myself.
Either way. I think we might think about what I was mentioning, like having things that sort of gel together, maybe having Celtic and a Greek or maybe or Roman or maybe not a good idea. Maybe we should pick like one place.
One pantheon.
Mhm.
One pantheon.
Just a
Well,
thought.
you're leading, what is your?
Well,
So Celine.
I mean, it's Mani and Sol. Mani is actually a god in the Norse, but
And he is the god of,
the moon.
okay.
Oh, what fantastic.
He's a god and goddess.
Moon goddess in the Norse?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean,
The
unless,
moon is a god in the Norse?
yeah,
Or some was.
What would you think? of
Well-
Celine?
I'm sure they have no idea.
You never know, those Vikings came on.
Probably, yeah, right.
They
They got
got
around.
around.
Does anybody in Zoom land have any ideas about?
Or just call, I would just be just calling on the moon herself.
Yeah.
And the sun. Could call the moon and the sun.
Wait, if we're going with Greek, why not call in, starts with an L. He brings the sun?
Helios?
Lou?
No.
Helios and brother.
Well, Apollo.
Apollo.
Yeah, he's the sun god.
Well, I mean, if you do Athena and Apollo, I mean, not Athena, sorry,
Oh,
Artemis and
Artemis.
Apollo.
Artemis and Apollo
Yeah,
could work.
Artemis and Apollo.
That actually might
Yeah.
work, yeah. If we're
The
sticking
Because
brothers
with-
and
Artemis
sisters.
is, yeah, brother and sister,
Yep.
and Artemis is moon.
The moon and Apollo.
Apollo is the sun,
And Apollo also has traits of
healing,
foresight.
healing and divination, foresight.
Oh, it's sticking in the pantheon. There we go.
And Artemis is the goddess of the hunt,
And an internal
And-
matron,
maiden,
maiden.
and she has moon.
She is a moon goddess.
She is a moon goddess. The crescent moon is her bow.
Like dogs and deer.
She does like dogs and deer. We got
Yeah.
antlers and a deer. And we have a black dog over there.
All right, so I think we've chosen our deities. We have our quarters, we have our high priestess.
Yeah,
Do we want to have a high priest or we want to just keep it
yeah,
simple?
well,
You gonna do a
Keeping
high
it a
priest?
You wanna
spirit of
be-
the ritual.
you wanna call it Apollo with the Artemis?
Okay.
Okay,
There you go.
perfect.
All right.
All right,
Do it to it.
so let's all get in the circle then.
Do you want to maybe lower this light?
Yeah, let's lower the light.
That's still good.
There's, what is that?
What is what?
There's a notification.
Set up professional audio.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
I don't know that person. How do you know it, bro?
professional audience.
Thinking professional.
Upstairs, right here.
okay. So we should have someone take the stage and kind of go around and clear our circle. The clearing. Actually, those guys kind of do make a little bit of a drumming sound.
Let's go in the circle. Over here.
Just kind of close your eyes and take a deep breath. Feel and smell that sage. So now that we're all here, we're gathered for a ritual of mental clarity, of clarity of communication, of strength, of power. We're gathered here today in this circle to turn this Mercury retrograde into a chance to better ourselves, to clear the blockages, to transform and move forward with power and wisdom. So let's now call the quarters, starting in the east.
Call to the spirits of the east and air, the powers of intelligence, powers of inspiration. Show us new ways to communicate, to be heard, and to listen. Hail and welcome.
Hail
and welcome. And to the south.
Almighty and great dragons of the south, mighty beings of fire, we ask you to come and with your breath of flame, burn up within us the passion to do what is right, to clear away all the barriers hindering good communication. Hail and welcome.
Hail and welcome.
And to the west.
Hail and welcome, spirits of water. Share with us your abundance. Share with us your abundance and deep-bred wisdom so that we all may benefit. Hail and welcome.
Hail and welcome.
And the north.
We call upon the element of the north, of earth, of bone and mountain, of sure footing. Allow us the power and strength to do that which must be done. Hail and welcome.
Hail and welcome. Let's call upon as individuals here. Let's just take a moment to reflect upon those of our ancestors, known and unknown, whom we like, whom we admire, who may be able to offer us wisdom. And as we feel and welcome them into our circle, be welcome, be our guides, wisdom of the ages. Now let's call upon the God.
Apollo, God of the sun, we welcome you here, as also the God of prophecy, to look through, to give us clarity to see through this retrograde, to give us these chances. Welcome. Hail and welcome.
Hail and welcome. And Artemis, goddess of the hunt, may our words fly as true and as clear and as swift as arrows from your bow when you give chase. Be with us with clear eyes that shine like owls' eyes through the night, that we may pass through this Mercury retrograde with clear sight, clear intentions, and straight and true words. Hail and welcome.
Hail and welcome.
So, yes, we should have a story.
Oh,
A
yes.
story from our bard.
Okay, well, let's have a story of miscommunication. How words can be heard, but not understood. This is what's going on in the world today. If you listen to some of the words that people say, they're really not that bad. but their meaning and their intentions are not consistent with their words. And we have to somehow learn to recognize when they don't match up. We have to be diligent within ourselves, and pick our words carefully. Because really, people just don't get it many times. I think there's many instances of miscommunication when you tell someone something. I mean, take out the party game where you have somebody whisper in one ear and it is repeated from person to person to person to person. By the time it gets back, it usually has no even close association with what was originally said. And it's all a matter of how you speak it and how you hear it. We have to practice better listening skills as well as better speaking, better words, better judgment of the words we use throughout. And that's my advice.
All right.
I think now would be a good moment for all of us to just take a moment of reflection on some of the conversations we may have had, let's say over the last week. Conversations that you feel you might have done better. And take a moment to relive them with the words you perhaps should have said, and say those words with the universe now, that they may go forth with this working. Open your eyes back into the circle, and let's all just give a big old clap and send them where they gotta go. Bless you.
Can we raise some energy to let us all go out into the world with the power to speak better and also to listen better?
Yes. Let's do another like clapping exercise. Speak better. Let's say the words we need to say. Let's speak better. Let's say the words we need to say. Let's listen better. Let's say the words we need to say. Let us speak better. Let us listen better. Let us say the words we need to say. Let us speak better. Final clap. That was a good. All right. Okay, we all feel a little bit more loosey-goosey now? Okay. So then let's release deities first. So Artemis, you have the silver bow. Let our intentions fly forth into the world like the racing hounds, like the fleeting stag, and let us, our words and our listening skills be straight and true from here on out. Blessed be.
Blessed be. Father, bring us the sun. Bring us the wisdom like you bring us the sun. say what we need to say without crossing intention. With true sight and true intention. Blessed be.
Blessed be. And take a moment now to bid farewell to those of your ancestors you may want to join you. And now let us release the quarters, starting in the north.
Element of the north, of earth, we thank you for being with us this evening, for bestowing upon each of us your strength and your power. We bid you farewell until we meet again. Blessed be.
Blessed be.
Thank you, spirits of the west, for your abundance and your coolness of your depths, so that better heads may prevail. Hail and farewell.
Hail and farewell.
Thank you, mighty dragons, for your attendance here within this rite. Thank you for aiding our magic and helping us to burn with the passion to do what is right on this night. Stay if you will, go if you must. Hail and farewell.
Hail and farewell.
We thank you, spirits of the east and air. Thank you for bringing us your intelligence and inspiration tonight. May we continue to use it wisely. Hail and farewell.
Hail and farewell. So, our working is complete. So let us take time to ground ourselves. And let's see.
Oh, lovely couch.
I think that's the first lock and load ritual I've done in like 2 years.
Lock and load rituals are awesome. And I think that was a very powerful ritual, you know? It's nothing to sneeze at, to have the power of in the moment, for sure, you know? And I think the final thing I want to say about rituals this evening is the perfect ritual speeds the end of time. And so therefore, when you make a mistake, just remember that you saved us all.
Like what happened earlier.
Thank you. You're welcome. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Kimberly says, beautiful, thank you. And she also said, to clarify, it's Hina, is known as the goddess of the moon. Mahina, the Hawaiian word for moon.
Yes.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Very good. So if you're on Zoom with us, you can go ahead and unmute if you'd like to.
Fantastic ritual, thanks.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Certainly. Loved it.
Good to see everybody.
Good to see you
Definitely.
too. Thank you so much.